Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Kate Stoneman 2026. We have a full house here and on Zoom. We have 190 people RSVP'd, so we'll see how many trickle in. But we are here today for one of the most treasured days at Albany Law School, Kate Stoneman Day. Today is the 32nd celebration of this tremendous tradition, which began in 1994. 32 years. And this is particularly special as we prepare for our 175th anniversary of Albany Law School this year. So I did the math, and I see that we have celebrated Kate Stoneman Day for almost 1/5 of the lifetime of our law school. Thank you all for being here. We are especially privileged to have so many esteemed members of the bar and the bench. Thank you for your continued support of Albany Law and Kate Stoneman Day. For those of you who are new to Kate Stoneman, I know there's a couple, there's a bunch of first years here. You're in for a real treat. This event is named for the first woman to graduate from Albany Law School, Catherine Stoneman, class of 1898. Kate Stoneman challenged both the racial discriminatory laws and the gender discriminatory laws of her day. And by doing so, she was the first woman admitted to practice law in the state of New York. In 2009, Kate Stoneman was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in Seneca Falls, New York. And stay tuned, we're going to be having an event in the fall there. More details to come. We'd love to celebrate Kate and her legacy this month in March, Women's History Month. I always feel particularly honored to be a part of the Kate Stoneman Day festivities. 24 years ago, in 2002, I visited Albany Law as a faculty candidate. I learned today that's when Amy Kellogg graduated. So we missed each other by just ships in the night. And it turns out that I happened to be coming when it was fortuitously Kate Stoneman Day. After staying for the Stoneman program, it became quite clear to me that I had found my home. And now, even after 24 years of teaching here, I still get goosebumps on Kate Stoneman Day. Tonight, we welcome in the audience one of Kate Stoneman's dear family members who just walked in, who just learned of our celebration last year. And thank you to our alum, Lila Dodge, who figured out the connection. We have here Bruce William Stoneman Otto. Thank you for being here. We hope yet again this year you feel the love and the pride in the room for your family. As Bruce tells me, Kate was Bruce's second great grand aunt on his mother's side. Did I get it right? Okay. I need a chart. Okay. And then as he tells us, there were 8 children altogether, starting with 4 boys and then 4 girls. Kate's older brother, George Stoneman, was Bruce's second great grandfather. George was a general under Grant during the Civil War. On one of his last assignments, George received orders to ride deep into the South to disrupt the supply chains and to dismantle the network of plantations, freeing slaves and hanging those who got in the way. Later, he became the 13th governor of California. Another brother of Kate's, John Thompson, actually took classes here at Albany Law School during the summer before becoming an attorney and served 2 terms on the Superior Court in Iowa. Bruce tells us it was a short time after Kate's 14th birthday that she officially changed her name from Catherine to Kate. Welcome and thank you again for being here and all that you've done to celebrate Kate Stoneman with us. Tonight, 4 more honorees will join our prestigious circle of Kate Stoneman Award recipients, bringing the total to 108 extraordinary individuals honored. I would like to take a moment to ask any of those 108 former or current Stoneman Award recipients to stand so we can applaud you. You all continue to amaze and inspire us, and we are thrilled to add 4 more to the circle of honorees. We're so excited tonight to be honoring the remarkable Amy Kellogg, who just stepped in as the current head of the advisory board of the Government Law Center. She has been a part of Kate Stoneman since the beginning, and in her law school days was co-chair of the Women's Law Caucus for all 3 years. I'm also honored to celebrate my former student, Nairobi Vives, who I've kept up with all these years. And it was so exciting to learn of the fact that she is cousins to the amazing Glenisa Galliard, who has been a steadfast Stoneman committee member, and we didn't know that. And hello, welcome, Uncle Kent, right? I'm also thrilled that we are honoring Connie Cahill, who has been so generous and so wonderful with so many of our female alums. Thank you for all you do for Albany Law School. And I especially welcome our keynote tonight, President Danielle R of Mount Holyoke, formerly the Dean of Howard Law School, and what I just learned, formerly at South Carolina Law, where she met and hired our wonderful Dean Carlarn, and I just learned that. Lots of things I'm learning today. Tonight, you will also notice that the introducers to the awardees are equally impressive, and some of them are former awardees themselves. You will hear from the wonderful Judge Stein, Judge Gary, Tara Ann Pleat, and Dean Carlarn. We also added a special touch this year, and we're going to have the honorees be given their crystal bowl by someone special. So we will have Jamie Doogie Hogenkamp be giving Connie her crystal bowl. Glenisa will be giving Nairobi her crystal bowl. Our co-chair of Women's Law Caucus, Tara McCoy, who's out giving out programs, will be giving her the crystal bowl to Amy Kellogg, who was her professor. And then our very own Shell Miller of the Government Law Center, who is a Mount Holyoke grad, will be giving the bowl to President Holley. So let's take a moment to acknowledge them as well. So I want to take a moment for thank yous and to acknowledge those who made today possible, most notably Sachi. Where is she? Sachi Vines. Sachi has been amazing, is my partner in crime, has worked tirelessly to make all of this beautiful, and it's only her second Kate Stoneman Day. Can you believe that? She has jumped in seamlessly and made tonight possible. Tremendous thanks also to Megan Goff-Pearson and Lauren Minot, who worked on everything here too, and publicity and event planning and programming. We're grateful for Alex Peebles, Jeff Sieber, Marcus Abad, and really the entire communications team led by Tom Torello and the entire IA team by Jeff Shantz. And of course, we thank the law students involved. The Women's Law Caucus members are here to seat you and hand out programs with their fearless co-chairs, Rebecca Bogad, I know you're somewhere here, and Tara McCoy. We also owe thanks and gratitude to our honorary Kate Stoneman Committee. It's a magnificent group of staff, faculty, law students, and alums who work together to share a common goal and vision. And we always are looking for new members if you're interested. And if you're graduating, we will grab you. So thank you to each and every one of you. All of the awardees tonight are impressive and inspirational. They have bravely paved paths for so many of us as we rest upon their shoulders and walk in their footsteps. So many parallels exist between the awardees today and our very own Kate Stoneman. Reading their nomination packets was just overwhelmingly inspiring in so many ways. And you will hear tonight constant references to the word trailblazer, pioneer, champion, first, role models. I might add in female warriors in the war against inequality. So I'm very, very excited to welcome everybody here today. It is now time to move on to the Beloved Students Award. So when we were planning the 25th anniversary of Kate Stoneman, which really didn't seem that long ago, but I guess it was 7 years ago, we had Betsy Katz, the daughter of our beloved Kathy Katz, I see you somewhere, Amy Kellogg, and Professor Lori Shanks. And they generously offered to fund a Catherine D. Katz Student Cash Prize. We challenged our law students to describe how Kate Stoneman has inspired them and what she would be fighting for had she been alive today. The students were encouraged to use any medium to describe their inspiration. We have had so many beautiful submissions over the years, we really ought to start a museum, and maybe we will. This year's subcommittee had the pleasure of reading through 8 separate submissions. We were able to read truly inspiring poems, hear a beautiful podcast, read lovely essays, see collages, and enjoy other creative ways to honor Kate Stoneman. So I want to mention their names, and please stand if you're in the audience. And these are the folks who had submitted for the Student Award. Chandler Edbauer, Olivia Weeks Christie, Jennifer Alex, Rebecca Bogad and Molly Harrison, Kevin Titus, Najat Mia. Let's congratulate all of these folks. I don't know is Delicia Thomas in the audience? You are. Could you come join me here? The committee chose Delicia's beautiful essay of what Kate Stoneman will be fighting for today. And we're so glad you were able to make it tonight. And we want to give you this award. And now I'll embarrass her a little bit by reading a few excerpts of her essay, but it really was pretty powerful, and I want you all to hear it. She starts by saying, in a society where only men were given a seat at the table, Kate Stoneman did not wait for an invitation. She created her own seat, and she brought it to the table. In a place where the laws governing women in New York were drafted, debated, and signed by men, Kate Stoneman inserted herself into the conversation. Does this mean that Kate Stoneman would not still be fighting today? Absolutely not. In fact, she would probably be fighting harder than she ever imagined today. Kate Stoneman would be fighting for a society where women and children do not have to fear repercussions for defending themselves against abuse. She would be fighting against laws that undermine the fundamental rights of women. She would be fighting for inclusion and equity. The world may try to silence us, but that simply means we must try louder. It is me, it is you, it is the next generation of women who will come, whether the legal profession is ready for us or not. So thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you to all of the students for your inspiration and creativity. It's really our favorite part of the event. Thank you for continuing on the Kate Stoneman legacy. It is now my honor to welcome to the stage our wonderful alum and adjunct professor, Tara Ann Pleat, who is going to introduce Amy.
Good evening. As we just heard, Kate Stoneman did not wait quietly for permission. She challenged the system. She took up space. She insisted on belonging in a profession that had no intention of welcoming her. When the door remained closed, she didn't just knock harder. She went to the legislature and helped change the law itself. Her path to the bar was not simply earned through study, but secured through advocacy. And history has a funny way of labeling women like that as too much. Amy Kellogg understands that territory all too well. Amy has never been content, to sit at the edge of the table. She builds it, she leads it, and she expects excellence from herself and from her professional around her. And I promised her I wouldn't be emotional because I love her, but I am. And like Kate Stoneman, Amy understands that real change does not happen by waiting. It happens by engaging, by advocating, and yes, by lobbying when necessary to move systems forward. Her accomplishments are substantial and they are well earned. She has built a career defined by strength, conviction, and an unrelenting commitment to moving forward. But her impact is not limited to her own success. She shows up for women in this profession in tangible ways as a mentor, as an advocate, and as someone who opens doors and, when necessary, pushes them wider. She has supported countless lawyers behind the scenes, and she has never apologized for her ambition in front of them. For years, Colleen Ostagai Dawson, class of 2003, Mary Frances Carr, who's a classmate of mine and Amy's, and I, who have known Amy since we attended law school here together, believed she belonged among the recipients of this award, and tonight that belief becomes recognition. She is formidable, she is accomplished, and she is unapologetically present. Amy, for your record of extraordinary achievements and commitment to the ideals of Kate Stoneman, we are honored to present you with the 2026 Stoneman Award. He's on.
Ooh. So I still clearly remember my second Kate Stoneman Day related event. I served as co-chair of the Women's Law Caucus for my 3 years when I was at the law school. And back then, Kate Stoneman was done a little differently because it was still relatively new and celebrated at different times of the year. But the Women's Law Caucus usually tried to do something Kate Stoneman related during March with Women's History Month celebrations. During my second year as co-chair, we had this brilliant idea to invite the then historic composition of 3 women judges from the New York State Court of Appeals to come for our Women's History Month and Kate Stoneman celebration. Chief Judge Judith Kaye and Associate Judges Carmen Saparik and Victoria Graffio. On behalf of the Women's Law Caucus, I wrote a letter inviting them to come speak and dropped it in the mail because it was 2001 and email wasn't a thing. A couple of weeks later, we got our snail mail response back about 2 days before the scheduled events, and they informed us they were coming. To say that the powers that be at the law school were not happy might be a slight understatement. Apparently, there was a whole protocol on how you invite prominent dignitaries to come speak at the law school, and we followed none of that protocol. We weren't supposed to ask the judges directly. All requests were supposed to go through the law school, and they would ask on our behalf if they thought it was a good idea. I didn't ask. I just asked Judge Kaye if she wanted to come speak, and she later told me that the reason they agreed to come speak is because we, the students, had in fact been the ones to ask. While I learned many lessons from that experience, the main lesson I learned was that you don't get what you don't ask for, and that has been an important life lesson. When I graduated in 2002, I was awarded the Kate Stoneman Prize, which was given to a graduating student who had furthered the status of women in the law school and legal community. So it is very surreal to be standing here 24 years later as one of this year's recipients of the Kate Stoneman Award. This is truly a full circle moment for me. While I've always felt an affinity to Kate Stoneman for a variety of reasons, what I realized as I reflected on being selected for this award, that my strongest connection is the one that Tara mentioned, through my work as a government affairs attorney and practice group leader of Harder Seacrest and Emory's government affairs practice. This is my 25th legislative session working on legislative issues. I started my career with HSE in 2001 as a second-year law student, became a partner in 2012, and took over as the practice group leader in 2020. While everyone knows that Kate Stoneman was the first woman admitted to the practice of law, I think that we sometimes don't take time to appreciate a very key part of her story, which Tara and I did not compare notes, and she already highlighted, but I want to highlight that Kate had actually already passed the bar exam when she submitted her application to join the bar. However, her application was rejected because the then law of New York did not allow women to be admitted to practice. So she passed legislation to amend New York law to permit the admission of qualified applicants regardless of sex or race in a matter of days. And this is where I want to focus for just a minute, because 1, I'm jealous, but 2, passing legislation is not for the faint of heart. It is not easy to do. And while many things have changed since 1886, I'm guessing that the one thing that has not changed is that it takes a lot of time, strategy, and dedication to get a bill passed into law in New York. This was also historic legislation that she was working on, which, while more impactful, also means that there are more challenges, and she overcame them all in a shockingly short period of time, when there weren't women regularly doing the work that she was doing. which to me just reinforces the lesson that you don't get what you don't ask for. And thankfully today, while we still need more women to do this work, the progress I have seen in the past 25 years is inspiring. And we have more women than ever working in government affairs, politics, and policy. At a time when many are completely disillusioned with the legislative process and politics, I think it is more important than ever to embrace the process, fight the fight, and ask for what we want. Without people like Kate, people like myself, we would not have made the progress we have made. But more importantly, without people staying engaged and embracing politics and policy, we will lose the progress we have made. There has never been a more important time to be engaged in the legislative process and ask for what you want. I'm honored to play my part in the process, fighting the good fight and asking for what I want. Part of the reason that I can do this is because of the incredible support I receive from so many in my life. I would not be where I am today without the support of my family, who to this day can't tell you exactly what I do, but they know they think it's good. But I know that they are unwavering in their support and their love for me, and I am truly grateful for that. I would also not be where I am today without the incredible network of friends who are my family that I have been blessed to have in my life. Damn you, Tara. I have also had incredible mentors along the way who have always supported me and pushed me to do the things that I would never imagine I could do. For all of these incredible people who have touched my life, I want to say thank you. And I also want to take a moment to thank those who nominated me, Tara, Colleen, and Mary Frances, who are the heart of those friends that are family. And finally, I want to thank the Kate Stoneman Committee for selecting me and letting me have this truly full circle Kate Stoneman moment. I am honored to have been selected, and I will continue my commitment to seeking change and expanding opportunities for women not only in the legal profession, but in every area, because I truly believe that now, more than ever, we need a woman's voice in every conversation, in every room where decisions are made, asking for what they want. Thank you.
Good evening. As Albany Law School celebrates 175 years of fostering lawyers and leaders, I am pleased to introduce Nairobi Vives, who embodies the qualities exemplified by Kate Stoneman, a demonstrated commitment to actively seeking change and expanding opportunities for women. I would like to begin by welcoming members of Nairobi's family, some of whom are here in person, including her husband, Andre. Pacha. Her two children, Nina and Carter, are they here? They're at home with their grandma, okay. Of course, her cousin Glenisa and her uncle Glenn. Nairobi was raised in the South End of Albany. She received her bachelor's degree in political science and economics from SUNY Albany, a certificate of diversity and inclusion from Cornell University, and her JD from Albany Law School. From the time she was a law student, she has demonstrated a passionate commitment to seeking change and expanding opportunities for women in the legal profession. Laurie Shanks, one of Nairobi's professors, described Nairobi as one of her most outstanding students, and that means a lot from Professor Shanks. She was always prepared and organized, a leader in class discussions, a fierce advocate, and a champion and supporter of her classmates. Professor Shanks also noted that Nairobi has excelled while facing challenges, both professionally and personally. She has simultaneously worked to support women in her professional capacity while advocating for the special needs of her children. To paraphrase Professor Shanks, Nairobi is an incredible warrior, fostering the success of all those she serves. Since graduating from law school in 2012, Nairobi has dedicated most of her career to public and community service, fighting for and protecting the rights of marginalized groups, especially women and people of color. Throughout her legal career, first as a New York State Fellow, and then as Director of Diversity and Inclusion at the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, and with the AG's office addressing issues of police misconduct, Nairobi has worked on issues affecting women, such as affordable childcare and housing, has counseled women facing challenges in the workplace, and has helped to craft and implement policies and initiatives that remedy disparities in places of employment. Nairobi's commitment to protecting the rights of women and others without power was further demonstrated by her work as a member of the chair of the Albany Community Police Review Board, where she championed fairness, accountability, and transparency in policing in the city of Albany. Not a small task. In my former role as director of the Albany Law School Government Law Center, which provided administrative services to the CPRB, I saw firsthand Nairobi's commitment to ensuring that people were treated fairly and had a safe place to talk about specific instances of police misconduct. I also witnessed her commitment to holding public servants accountable to the communities they serve, both by working to protect individuals' rights and by advocating for systemic change. Never leaving behind her roots, she actively solicited insight from Albany's diverse communities to inform the board's advocacy for such change. I was extremely impressed by Nairobi's tenacity, sound judgment, integrity, collaborative manner, and grace, even under the most difficult circumstances. Nairobi has served as a role model and inspiration for women of color in the legal profession and the wider community. Underscoring her dedication to justice and community, she has also volunteered her time by providing counsel to pro bono representation to individuals arrested while engaged in protests, to immigrants, and to women facing eviction, needing to leave abusive partners, or wishing to form a business. In addition to informally mentoring women entering the legal profession here at Albany Law School, Nairobi has recently joined the advisory board of the school's Women's Leadership Institute. There's much more I could say about Nairobi, but we have a full program this evening and limited time. So I will now call Nairobi up to receive her award. No problem. Are we putting it back? Yeah, because
we're gonna do it after.
We're gonna. Okay. Thank you. Get those things out.
Wow. Thank you so much, Judge Stein. I just have to start with expressing gratitude for everyone who got me here to this moment. To you, Judge Stein, and the rest of the group that nominated me, Professor David Pratt, Professor Lori Shanks, Professor Melissa Brager, I am honored that a group of such accomplished people who taught me how to be an attorney think so highly of me to nominate me for this award. I am forever grateful. Thank you to the Stoneman Committee as well. I am truly honored to be in the company of such luminaries as Judge Leslie Stein, Professor Lori Shanks, Judge Tanika Frost, Donna Young, Dale Skivington, who was actually my first boss in my first legal job, Dean Alwet, Lillian Moy, Patricia Salkin, Judge Judith Kay, Andrea Stewart's cousins, and Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, just to name a few. To my babies, Nina and Carter, who were mentioned today, who are probably not watching this, they're probably watching you two kids. Mommy loves you so much, and thank you for sharing me. One day, when you do see this, you'll know that I do everything that I do to make the world a better place for you. For as long as I can remember, my dream has been to be a lawyer. But not even in my wildest dreams could I have imagined a moment like this, where I'm being awarded by people that I admire for my work. It is a privilege just to have built a career serving others. I stand here today as both a reflection of my own hard work and the embodiment of everyone who has believed in me and supported me along the way. This moment is mine, but it also belongs to all of them, and many of you are here with me in this room and in spirit. I'm receiving this award in the name of a woman who we've heard about, who was told that she could not be a lawyer just because she was a woman. She did all the work and was told no. And like Kate Stoneman, I don't like the word no. When faced with injustice, she used her skills and her support system to lobby the legislature to change the law in New York State. Kate succeeded in having gender and race removed as impediments to her bar admission. Kate blazed a trail for me to be who I am today. We did not exist in the same space or time, but we do share the same spirit. When I was a little girl, my grandmother told me a story of injustice that led me on the path that I am on today. She shared with me that she decided not to finish school because women who raised her had to scrub the porches and perform other work that she found demeaning to pay for her education. She was born in South Carolina in 1936. She was the smartest woman I knew. She had a passion for history, politics, and civic engagement. If given the chance, she too could have been a lawyer, a legislator, or a leader of a political movement. Throughout my childhood, she would share more of her experiences with racism in the Jim Crow South and about the covert racism that she experienced when she moved to Albany. From her stories, I developed an understanding of the systemic oppression of Black people in this country. In my young mind at the time, all I knew was that it wasn't fair and that I was going to fix it. As I learned more about the civil rights movement, I reported back to my grandmother that I was born too late and everything had already been taken care of. She assured me that there was still some work to do, and we would continue our talks. And as I continued to learn more and to question everything and experience injustice firsthand, I decided that she was right. So I came back to her with my plan. I was going to become a lawyer so I could be the first Black woman president and change the world. She thought it was a solid plan and told me that there was a great school right up the street that I could go to named Albany Law School. I informed her that I was going to go far, far away and she would miss me. But as was the regular course of our talks, she turned out to be right. She was alive to see me walk across the stage and to remind me that she told me so. Because of her, I was able to understand my calling in life. And because I was blessed to have a family that created an environment where I was free to dream and to challenge the things that I didn't like, where people believed in me and I was taught to believe in myself, I was able to achieve my goals. As a Black woman, I learned early that our society did not expect much of me and that the playing field was not level. However, I knew as a Black woman, my lived experience and that of the women around me would make me a better attorney. Experiencing injustice helped me to issue spot, to reframe arguments and questions to address the actual source of the problem, to check my biases, to empathize with clients and stakeholders to understand the impact of a ruling or a law that may have on people that have been marginalized. I've been able to use my law degree to make a change in the community I was raised in and continue to live in. I go to work every day knowing that I work for my personal hero, Letitia James, and I get to serve on the board of WLI and help young women starting their legal careers. To all of the people in my life who made this possible, thank you. Every day, I'm trying to put back into the world what so many of you poured into me. My cheering section at graduation was so large that I got asked while I was on stage if it was my real family or if I paid actors. And they're also so loving and kind that when the family next to them asked if they could cheer for their daughter too, they did so. To my mother, who is at home with my children, I would not be able to do this without you. Thank you for being a fierce protector and an example of strength. You ignited a love of reading and writing, which became the foundation of what I do. To my father, you are the best father a girl could have. You listened to all my lessons about girl power. You made sure I was always prepared for any task I undertook, and you gave me enough love to share with the rest of the world. You taught me to be kind and to respect everyone, no matter their differences. To my husband, Andre, the love of my life, you were here from the beginning, drove me to the bar, had lunch prepared for me for my break. And now you get to be with me on my path through my legal career. And to my cousin, Glenisa Gaillard, who is my shining example of what it is to be an attorney, you are a powerhouse and I admire you. You're always there to pick up the phone, answer questions, even renegotiate my law school scholarship. I love and appreciate you so much. To my aunties, AKA my second moms, who literally asked if they could come and hold up signs for my first court appearance, who catered balsa events at the law school, and who always know what to say when I'm having a moment. Thank you for all the love and support. To the rest of my village, my mother and father-in-law, my sisters, my brother, my nieces, nephews, cousins, goddaughters, besties, friends, colleagues, mentors, and mentees, this is our honor. This is our award. Because if this journey has taught me anything, it is that when women are supported, heard, and empowered, the impact extends beyond one individual. It reshapes communities, it reshapes institutions, and it reshapes the future. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Gary. It is my privilege to serve as the presiding justice of the Appellate Division, 3rd Department, but it's my honor tonight to appear here this evening to introduce Stoneman Award recipient Connie Cahill, a 1983 grad and the first woman to serve as a managing partner of Barclay Damon, a firm of roughly 300 lawyers with 9 offices spread across New York State, as well as Boston, Toronto, New Haven, and Washington, D.C. Connie received a huge outpouring of support. I understand that there were multiple nominations. My own letter was supported by Jamie Doogie Hogenkamp, class of 2015, who will join me shortly in delivering the award. And hers was further supported by 13 signatories, each of them women who graduated from our beloved alma mater in the span from 1979 through 2022, and each of whom Connie has helped, mentored, and supported in their legal careers. So I hope we did not wholly overwhelm the committee this year, who asked for 2 letters, not dozens. But it bears noting that there was a tremendous groundswell of support founded in and arising from gratitude for what Connie Cahill has done through the years. I should include a few words about Connie's illustrious legal career. After graduating, she struck out to work in highly complex areas of law, including public finance, serving as bond counsel for multiple agencies and authorities, and working with agencies and corporations in large-scale projects such as school, hospital, and housing development. She has also guided clients in pension matters and tax certiorari and things like that. You're getting it. It's all really hard stuff, right? Okay. So, in short, she's worked in the tough and complex arenas of business regulation, facing legal challenges that are both daunting and impressive. But of course, it is not merely for a notable legal career that supports this award. The Stoneman emphasizes what one has done for others, to uplift and improve the lives of others. And this is, of course, what she is recognized here for tonight. Why so many gather to applaud her? She has always done that in ways big and in ways small, as well as in her consistent daily efforts to reach out, to guide, to empower those who are lucky to work with her. It is because of Connie Cahill that her firm has had explosive growth in women achieving success. The firm now has an equal number of male and female managing partners. 1/3 of the attorneys at the firm are women, and they went from 6 women partners in 2006 to 47 this year. This growth is not an accident, and it is not yet mirrored in the greater law firm culture. One thing she did was to work with key colleagues to develop a women's forum, specifically designed to foster and support the professional growth of women in her firm. Also of critical importance, Connie has shaped a law firm culture that supports young parents. She created a HATCH program, H-A-T-C-H, the acronym for Helping Attorneys and Children, and Their Children, helping attorneys and their children. This allows significant leave time for new parents, reduces their billable hour requirements surrounding that leave time, and does not penalize them for using that leave, using that benefit. The parental leave and support does not impact their advancement toward partnership. This sort of program, we can all recognize those kind of words. This sort of program has been discussed for many, many years. Connie Cahill made it happen. She walks the walk of the Stoneman legacy. As Jamie Doogie Hogenkamp wrote, Connie has rewritten the rule book. What distinguishes her is that she knows that diversity and women's representation at the firm's highest ranks is how to ensure the provision of high-quality legal services. It is not an aspiration, it is a requirement. The vision, the focus, the dedication that Connie Cahill has demonstrated for decades is tremendously deserving of our recognition. If Jamie and Connie would please come forward, as they do. Connie, for your record of extraordinary achievements and commitment to the ideals of Kate Stoneman, we are honored to present you with the 2026 Stoneman Award.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. You think I'm gonna talk now? I think you are. To say this is a little overwhelming would be an understatement, but good evening, everyone. I am truly honored to receive the Kate Stoneman Award from Albany Law School. It's the place where it all started for me, a place where helped shape who I am. It helped me learn how to think. It made me believe what's possible. I'm especially honored to share this award this evening with Danielle, Amy, and Nairobi. And boy, are Amy and Nairobi tough acts to follow. I'm just glad that I'm not totally last. What you have each done in your careers and what you have done to uplift women and to open doors for others has been truly amazing and so inspiring. I also want to thank the Dean, Professor Brager, and the Kate Stoneman Committee for selecting me. It is an incredible honor. I'm particularly grateful to Judge Gary and to Jamie Doogie Hogenkamp, who nominated me, and to all those women of Barclay Damon who took the time out of their busy schedules to write a letter. I read those letters. I cried. I'm a crier, so hold on. Your words were incredibly generous, and very humbling. But most importantly, what I really appreciate is your friendship, your support, your encouragement, and Melissa Zambri, those late night phone calls that we trade back and forth that keeps us all going. Because what I've learned from you is what gives me strength and what gives me the incentive to keep moving forward. I would really be remiss if I didn't express my gratitude to the Albany Law School of the early 80s. I'm the old one of the group. And I went to the law school here in the early 80s, and so much of it changed, except the gym with the basketball court. That has not changed. That was my first question I said to one of the students, is it still here? And it is. So Mike Murphy, my husband, all you other basketball players, it's still there. But there were so many people that were so key to my career here at the law school and my success later in life. Dick Bartlett, who was the longtime dean here, who directed me magically into a career of public finance, a career that I probably would never have picked for myself, but was the perfect fit. To Helen Wilkinson, she was the iconic registrar for 30 years here. And I went to her as a second year and said, I don't think I have enough money to pay my tuition. Magically, no FAFSA forms, no requirements, extra money appeared as scholarship money on my next tuition statement. And then there were the women professors, all 4 of them, including Catherine Katz, who we talked about earlier this evening, who we affectionately called Kitty Katz, who was so passionate about her work and her scholarship, to Pat Youngblood, affectionately known now as Professor Rahan. They were so instrumental in showing us what was possible. Not just the women, we had some iconic male professors. We had Jack Welch, as my husband said to me this morning, the man could talk for 20 minutes without taking a breath. He perfected the Socratic method. He would call on one student and you just hoped, you prayed that you wouldn't be that student every class. You sat alphabetically, you got called on randomly, and you stood. And he would drill you for about 25 or 30 minutes. And the rest of us, long before laptops, wrote down every word that was said. He'd ask a question, you write down the answer. About 30 minutes into a 45, 50-minute class, the professor would say, point to someone else. What do you think about that? And inevitably, the first person was entirely wrong. You had to cross out everything he said. But that Socratic method, probably the best professor I ever had. And then there was Frank Anderson. I don't know about you, but Frank Anderson terrified me. I had him in a small group comm law class, 8 a.m. At 8:01, he locked the door. Sometimes at 8 o'clock and 30 seconds, he locked the door. That was tough, especially on Friday mornings after Thursday night at the Elbow Room. But we all made it. And then there was the professor, I will not name that professor, that taught me a really good lesson in resilience. See, I had 2 brothers that went to law school before me, and they gave me one piece of advice, such good advice. Keep your head down and never raise your hand. And I followed that advice. I went through my entire first semester. I went through 90% of my second semester. And then in this contract class, which at the time was 6 credits with exam at the end, I raised my hand. I have no idea why. I raised my hand. The professor, who was famous for only wearing sandals 12 months a year, looked at me, picked up a piece of chalk. That's how long. There were no whiteboards. There were no it was a piece of chalk and a blackboard, and chucked it at me and said it was the stupidest question he'd ever been asked in all his years teaching law school. It was a great lesson in resilience. I thought I made it through that class. The next class we came back, he went back at me again and said it was a D-worthy question, and so I should expect a D in his class. Fortunately, I got an A+. It was a lesson in resilience. When they tell you you can't do something, when they tell you as a woman you don't belong at the table, you just work hard and you show them that you do. But my experience at Albany Law was so great. I also have to talk about the people who carried me here. That's my family. My mom and dad, who are long gone, without their encouragement and support, I don't go to law school. Like Nairobi's grandmother, my mother was the smartest person I ever met. Her vocabulary, her grammar, she was the grammar police. You better get it right because she was going to correct you. Without her, I'm not here. but it was my dad who came home from work one day in 1979 and said to me, "Your brothers are lawyers. You need to go to law school." I said, "Dad, I think I want to get an MBA." "No, go to law school, be a good career for a woman." And the rest is history. And maybe today that's not an uncommon thing, and maybe many of the current law students, your parents said the same thing, but in 1979, there weren't a lot of dads coming home telling their daughters to go to law school. I also want to thank my brothers, Din and John, who went to law school and gave me that good advice that I ignored. John, who's here today, and my sister Liz, they've been with me from the beginning for the good times and the bad. I have to thank my incredibly patient husband, Dick, and my children who are watching, Ellen and her husband, Andrew, Mary and her husband, Jim, Michael and his fiance, Mo, and of course, my grandkids. You want to light up my life? Ask me about my grandchildren, because they light up my life like I didn't know was even possible. And so Jack, Maeve, and Connor, and I believe they're watching for 30 seconds to see me shout out their names because they're all of 4, 3, and 7 months. Love you to pieces. They've all supported me through really long hours, through tough decisions, from moments of great uncertainty, as we all have experienced in our career. They've also been with me and are my biggest champions and celebrated my wins. They were more excited about this award than I was, well, almost. But most importantly, they were there for the setbacks, and there's always setbacks. This career is never a straight line, and so for you law students who are starting out and wondering what's going to happen, and you think you're going to go from A to Z and it's going to be a straight line, there's a lot of bumps in the road, and that lessons of resilience that I learned from that contract professor long ago has held me helped me keep going in many times. And so for the love and encouragement my family, I cannot thank you enough. Being recognized for seeking change and extending opportunities for women is especially meaningful because so many women and men contributed to where I've gotten today. They've been there at every turn to encourage me, to open doors, to push me into roles that I didn't think I was ready for, and frankly, probably wasn't ready for. And so for them, I'm very grateful. And anything I've done, and Judge, you made it sound a lot more than it really was, and there was so many people that were there by my side. You know, I'm just paying it forward. But when I think about it, about this award and how much has changed since 1983, when I started my career, there was lucky if there was one woman at the table, and there were no managing partners, practice group leaders, PA chairs who were women. That just wasn't even a thought that that was possible. But boy, has it changed. Today, we live in a state where our governor is a woman. The majority leader of the state Senate is a woman. A majority of the judges on the New York State Court of Appeals are women. The presiding justices of the first and third department are women. The dean of this law school is a woman. Women are leading law firms, leading educational institutions, running businesses, shaping policies, and driving change in their communities every day. We have truly come a long way. And yet, when we talk about how far we've come, we know the work's really not done. We still need to knock down barriers, open doors, and create opportunities for others. There is much more we need to do to elevate women attorneys. There's much more we need to do to elevate attorneys of color. There's much more we need to do to elevate attorneys who are members of the LGBTQIA+ community. There's so much more we need to do to elevate first-generation attorneys, single-parent attorneys, veterans who have fought for their country and are now attorneys, and all of those others first and only in the room. Because when we expand opportunity, we're not just helping the individuals, we're strengthening our law firms, our schools, and our communities. And it's creating more thoughtful, more resilient, again, one of my favorite words, and better prepared groups for what's coming next. Because I only know one thing. What's coming next is massive amounts of change. We recently had Professor Haynes as our keynote speaker at our firm partner retreat talking about artificial intelligence. If you haven't met him and you're a student here, if you haven't taken his class, you've got to go do it. If you're a practicing attorney in any way, shape, or form, seek him out, because it's an amazing future for all of us, and we need to be ready. And it's only by having a tapestry of people that come from different backgrounds, different perspectives, different life experience, that we're going to be ready for this change. So if one thing I'm going to ask you all to do tonight, and it really is the duty, the obligation of all of us, is keep opening doors, keep lifting others, keep creating opportunities, even when it's not popular, even when it's really hard, and even when change seems impossibly slow. Because while we've come a long way, the work isn't finished, and it's up to all of us to keep going. So again, I'm deeply grateful for this honor, for this community, and for the opportunity to be a part of this important work. Thank you again to Albany Law School, to my fellow honorees, to my colleagues at Barclay-Damon. So many of you are here and watching on screen. You have touched me in ways that you cannot imagine. And of course, to my family, they're the best. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. I think it's time to just take a breath. This is amazing, wonderful night. I am Cinnamon Caroline, and I'm the very proud 19th President and Dean of Albany Law School. And I am proud to say that we do still have a gym, but we absolutely do not throw chalk at anybody, especially women. Heck no, not in my house, not happening. So I just want to begin tonight by saying one additional thank you to somebody who really hasn't heard the thank you that she deserves, and that's Professor Melissa Brieger. She is just as amazing as you imagine and as you heard. She is the life and soul behind tonight, and she is just a heart of who we are, so thank you. All right, so good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here for Albany Law School's 32nd Annual Kate Stoneman Day. Now, if you know me at all, and if you've seen me at all, you've heard me shout very proudly about the fact that this year is our 175th anniversary. So Albany Law School is celebrating 175 proud years. And we're going to celebrate many milestones and traditions as part of our 175th anniversary. Among these many wonderful celebrations, Kate Stoneman Day holds a place of honor and also, as we all know, a place of joy. And I think it's really important tonight that we embrace that joy. It's so important now more than ever to find joy amidst all the hard work that we're doing. So Kate Stoneman Day is an essential part of our fabric, and it really is kind of a joyful commitment. And our joyful commitment to this day reflects our longstanding, deep commitment to celebrating women leaders and the powerful and impactful role that women play in ensuring the strength and integrity of the rule of law. Now, we've already recognized 3 amazing women who, like Kate Stoneman, are women of great courage, who lead with passion, skill, conviction, effectiveness, and a lot of humor too, which is important. So I want to thank Amy, Nairobi, and Connie for honoring us with their presence today, but also, and really more importantly, for all of the good, important work that each of you is doing on a daily basis and all of the modeling that you are doing for all of the women out there, and especially tonight for all of our students. All 3 of you are very powerful and inspiring examples of why we come together on Stoneman Day to celebrate women in the law. Each of you exemplify Albany Law's deep commitment to, but also success in preparing lawyers who excel in practice, who excel in service, and of course, leadership. Now, I have the honor of introducing our final honoree of the evening, someone who I'm very proud to call a friend and mentor, President Danielle Holley, who, as you've heard, is the president of Mount Holyoke College. Now, to start with the summation, President Danielle Holley stands as one of the most transformative figures in American higher education today. As a legal scholar and educator, she has consistently reimagined what law school first and now higher education can and should be. She's consistently championed access, equity, and excellence in ways that have reshaped how institutions think about preparing the next generation of great lawyers and great leaders. President Holley is a distinguished legal and educational scholar and leader whose career has been defined by intellectual rigor, principled leadership, and an unwavering commitment to equity and access. President Holley holds a BA from Yale University, and a JD from Harvard Law School. And even before assuming the presidency at Mount Holyoke, she built a well-known national reputation as a scholar of education, law, and policy, focusing her research and writing on areas such as desegregation, racial discrimination and affirmative action, the history of the civil rights movement, which, as we heard, is not just history, diversifying K-12 pipelines to higher education, and much more. And she really is truly a leader in the field of not just scholarship, but in the field of civil rights. And among other leadership roles in this regard, and there have been many, she's the immediate past co-chair of the board of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. Now, President Holley has served in leadership roles across higher education, including, as you heard, as a professor of the University of South Carolina School of Law, where we did first meet and where she did hire me when I was 6 months pregnant. And believe me, that was challenging. And I probably told her this, but I'm going to say it again in front of the room. She was intimidating, but not because she wasn't accessible, but because she was just everything that I hoped to be. And so as a very young, law professor at that time, to have that model really helped shape my career. So thank you. So then from South Carolina, of course, and then later she became the dean of Howard Law School, where she strengthened academic programs, expanded access initiatives, and really championed diversity within the legal profession. Throughout her career, she has demonstrated a rare ability to bridge scholarship and leadership, and the ability to pair thoughtful analysis of really complex legal systems with decisive, forward-looking institutional stewardship. Now, when she assumed the presidency of Mount Holyoke College, a historic institution just a little older than her own, she stepped into that role with clarity of vision and exceptional courage, navigating a landscape marked by a national reckoning over the purpose of higher education. President Holley has led with strategic boldness, forward-looking vision, and a deep respect for the transformative power of education, never losing sight of the students and the mission at the heart of the institution and the powerful role that women can and that women must play as the leaders of today and tomorrow. Now, I know we are short on time, but I can't conclude without emphasizing the depth of President Holley's commitment to mentoring students, colleagues, and other deans and presidents, myself very much among them. To law school deans navigating their own complex moments, and to women leaders across higher education who are watching and learning, President Holley has been an extraordinary mentor, generous with her wisdom, honest about the challenges of leadership, and unwavering in her belief in the power of higher education, and thus the importance of nurturing courageous and committed leaders. And just on another personal note, I'll share that she recently took the time to sit down with me and my daughter, and I was so thrilled about that. I was so thrilled that my daughter Tilly got to be in her presence and just to hear her and hear her vision of leadership and the work that she's doing. She will never forget that. And she left feeling that kind of empowerment that we want our young girls to feel. Now, returning to where I began, President Holley is a powerful, a courageous, and a deeply impactful leader. In so many ways, President Holley's journey echoes the spirit of Kate Stoneman. She's a trailblazer, yes, you heard that word, who challenged barriers and expanded access to the legal profession. She continues the legacy of Kate Stoneman by advancing opportunity, strengthening institution, and inspiring the next generation of leaders, really inspiring them to think about all that they can do. So today, we are honored to recognize President Holley's accomplishments, her leadership, and her enduring contributions to education, equity, access, and justice. She's a leader with great vision, and women are at the heart of her vision. Now, before I call her up, I'll ask Chell to come down. Or Chell to come over. Chell, who of course is a very proud alumnus of Mount Holyoke. President Holley, for your record of extraordinary achievement and commitment to the ideals of Kate Stoneman, it is my great honor and pleasure to present you with the 2026 Miriam M. 72 Kate Stoneman Award.
Good evening, everyone. It is so wonderful to be here with you. And I am normally not publicly emotional. So, Dean Carlern, thank you very much for that. I feel like I might cry up here, which is not my normal kind of MO. I have to say, sitting in the audience just now, I am just so incredibly inspired. Amy, by your work, Nairobi, by your incredible work, Connie, by your work. I mean, to be here standing beside the three of you is really will be enough to keep me going. I think for the rest of Women's History Month and into April, we might need to extend Women's History Month into April, because I am so inspired by the three of you and your incredible leadership, and what you've done for women in the profession is really incredible. To Dean Carlern, really, honestly, the entire reason that I still stand here today doing academic leadership work, enjoying being the president of a women's college, is because of the opportunity to mentor outstanding academics and leaders like Dean Carlern. To see her come from an assistant professor to president and dean of this amazing law school is truly inspiring. Congratulations for the amazing work that you've done. I'm also just very inspired to receive an award named after Miriam M, class of 72, who was famously a champion of and role model for other women at a time when it was very difficult to be a woman in the legal profession. Miriam was president of the Legal Aid Society of Northwestern New York, and she advocated for fairness, dignity, and justice for those living in poverty. And so I'm so honored to receive an award named after Miriam M. Of course, as we heard, it is Kate Stoneman Day. I'm really excited to be here on Kate Stoneman Day, reading the stories about Kate Stoneman, and especially ones that the other honorees have highlighted. But knowing that when she passed the bar in 1885, and her application was denied because of gender, but when she went to the legislature, she didn't just go to the legislature about gender, but she also had race removed from the New York legislation that talked about who could be admitted to the bar. And that's the kind of intersectional thinking that we need to continue to engage in the legal profession today. So I really am honored to be here on Kate Stoneman Day. So I know we have been here for a while, but also we've really had 3 speeches that could end the night. So, but I do feel, of course, that I need to make sure to say a few more words about women in the law. And so I want to talk tonight and focus on the critical role of women lawyers in the legal profession, the role of women's education. And I want to say a few words about women's colleges as playing a special role in helping to produce some of the most amazing women lawyers in the history of the United States. I want to reflect a little bit on my own experience working as a lawyer, a law professor, a law dean, and now a small liberal arts college president, and to talk for just a few seconds about the future of women in legal education. Being here and honoring Kate Stoneman and also honoring Miriam M makes me think of other women in the law who have really inspired me. And many times when I start speeches, I like to lift up the people who have really been an inspiration to me. And so I want to lift up 3 women really, really quickly tonight to do that. And the first one is a kind of iconic member of the New York community. And for me, this is in some ways full circle, being here in upstate New York. Even though I'm a Texan and I talk about being a Texan a lot, I was actually born here in upstate New York, in Buffalo, New York. Yes, only a little bit away. And so I wanted to really lift up a New Yorker who is really important to the way I think about the law, and that's Congresswoman Nita Lowey, who served in the U.S. House of Representatives for New York for 32 years. Lowey worked in the New York state government. She amassed political experience, and she talked a lot about how her Jewish faith and her mother's influence cultivated her social activism. And of course, she became the first woman to ever lead the House Appropriations Committee. And so Nita Lowey is someone who always inspires me. How many of you have heard of the Reverend Dr. Pauli Murray? Yes, so Pauli Murray is a 1944 graduate of Howard Law School. She was the #1 graduate in her class of 1944, and she was awarded what was then called the Rosenwald Fellowship. The Rosenwald Fellowship allowed the #1 student from Howard Law School to then go to Harvard Law School for an LLM. When they told Harvard Law School that Pauli Murray had won the Rosenwald Fellowship, he got a reply that said, women are not permitted to attend Harvard Law School, so you will not receive the Rosenwald Fellowship. Pauli Murray then went on to become the first Black woman to ever receive her degree in the Doctor of Science of Law from Yale Law School, and now has an entire residential college named after her at Yale University. She also helped to found the National Organization for Women and the Congress on Racial Equality, a true trailblazer, Pauli Murray. And finally, Marian Wright Edelman, who is always such an inspiration to me. Marian Wright Edelman, similar to Nairobi's grandmother, was born in South Carolina in 1939. When you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if your grandmother knew Marian Wright Edelman at all. And she was obviously, Miriam Wright Edelman is an amazing civil rights lawyer. And she was one of the people who inspired me to want to do more civil rights lawyering. And she was arrested in sit-ins. She also went on to Yale Law School and earned a Bachelor of Laws. And she's also my soror of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And she went on to found the Washington Research Project. All right, now it's time for the pop quiz. Why did I select Nita Lowey, Pauli Murray, and Marian Wright Edelman? What do those three women have in common? Anyone? They're all graduates of women's colleges. Some of the most important women lawyers in this country have graduated from women's colleges. Nita Lowey is a graduate of Mount Holyoke College. Yes. Pauli Murray is a graduate of Hunter's College, which was a women's college in the 1930s. And of course, Marian Wright Edelman is a graduate of Spelman College, right? And the reason that I want to lift up women's education tonight and for us to think together about the ways that women in the legal profession can be empowered is there are very few women's colleges left, right? There are only 24 women's colleges left in the United States, and those colleges are doing a lot of the heavy lifting still for producing women for leadership in all realms of the United States. As Dean Carlar mentioned, Mount Holyoke is the first of the Seven Sisters colleges. So when you think of Bryn Mawr and Wellesley and Smith and Barnard and formerly Vassar and of course Radcliffe were part of the Seven Sisters, Mount Holyoke is the first of the Seven Sisters, founded in 1837. And our founder, Mary Lyon, had a revolutionary thought, which was that women could be educated at the level of any man who went to an Ivy League school, that women needed their own Ivy League. And Mary Lyon believed that women were intellectually capable, which was a revolutionary thought in 1837, that women were capable of that level of education. And that's why Mount Holyoke was founded. And even today, when we look at the women's colleges, we see that with only 24, a 2020 study showed that 19%, when we look at our bachelor awarding institutions, 19% of the women who graduate from co-ed institutions are STEM majors. But when you look at women's colleges, 34% of our majors are STEM, and at Mount Holyoke, it's 40%. Mount Holyoke is still the #1 producer of women who get PhDs in the life sciences, and that's 60 years after coeducation. And we're #2 in all of STEM. And the leading colleges for women who get PhDs across the board in STEM are the women's colleges, right? So partly what I want you to leave here today with is support women's colleges. Encourage the women you know, the young women you know in your life to think about going to a women's college. Women's colleges have such incredible ways of supporting knowledge and supporting the growth of knowledge and also the empowerment of women together. Just to leave you with one more statistic, of all the women in Congress, 20% of the women in Congress are women's college graduates. Remember, there are only 24 left. And 33% of all of the Fortune 1000 boards, 30% of all the women, 33% of all the women who serve on our Fortune 100 boards are women's college graduates. So I hope that is one takeaway that you will have. Okay, now turning back to the legal profession. A lot of people have talked tonight about the progress that we have made in the legal profession, and it is tremendous. According to the American Bar Association, as of 2023, the majority of law firm associates are now women. When I entered the profession in 1999, if you had told me that the majority of new law associates would be women, I would have never believed that. Further, although the number, and 41% of licensed lawyers are now women, and 56.2% of law school students in this country are now women. Women are not only the majority, we are moving towards 60% of the law school students in this country, which is truly, truly amazing, the progress that we've made. But even with all that progress, seeing Connie stand up here and hear about her accolades, only 28%, and Amy too, of the law firm partners, 28% of law firm partners are women. So even though we're 56% of the law students, by the time we move along in the profession, only 28% are law firm partners, 28% of the law firm partners are women. And although the number has doubled in the last decade, only 23% of lawyers are people of color, and only 4.6% of lawyers at firms identify as LGBTQ. And I have to admit, I did not think a lot about gender when I was in law school. I really thought about my identity primarily based on my race and based on my region, being Southern and being from Texas, going to a Northeastern law school. And sometimes I would even think about politics as part of my identity, but I really did not think about being a woman as part of my identity until I stepped into the law school classroom. Right? And some of us were talking about the number of professors that we had in law school who were women. I think I only had 3 women professors during my entire law school career. They were very formidable professors, but there were only 3 of them. And there were a few more in the law school who I didn't take, but they really, really were not in large supply. And so because of that, I began to think about gender more deeply and what would be the impact of being a woman when I entered the legal profession. And so I want to offer a few reflections on some of the challenges, but also triumphs that have come from gender becoming kind of a central part of my identity as I've gone through the legal profession. So one, I think we have an obligation as women and men, notice I'm saying both, to raise issues of injustice and inequality and unfairness related to gender. And I'll give some examples. And one from a time that Dean Carlin and I were together at South Carolina. I moved to South Carolina, came very quickly onto that faculty. And one day a male colleague down the hall, 2 doors down, came to me and he said, "I wonder why you came here to make less money than the men." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Brant and we're the same year as you and we make more money than you do." And I was like, "No, you don't." And he was like, "Yes, we do. And it's all public." He goes, your salary went public today on the public website, which is how I now know that I'm paid more than you are. Right? And I was like, wait a second, I'm better educated and more qualified than both of those men. Why am I making less than them? So I impulsively run down to the associate dean's office. Now I know that was something I should not have done, probably. And I told him, I said, "Why are you paying me less than my 2 male colleagues?" And he goes, "I don't think that's true." And he was not the dean who had made my deal with me. So he really didn't know. I said, "No, I just pulled it up on the public website." And it wasn't a lot of money. But it was a true injury to my dignity, a true injury, like one that I felt deeply. And when I tell you it was not a lot of money, it was not a lot of money. But the point was that these 2 men were making more than I did. And so I told the associate dean, I said, "It is not my practice to be paid less than men, and I will not work here one more day." And he said, "Well, I'm going to talk to the provost." You know what happens. "I'll talk to the provost, I'll talk to this person, I'll talk to this person, and I'll get it fixed." Right? And I said, "Great. But as I'm telling you, it's not my practice to work places where I'm subject to, gender discrimination. It's just not. So I go home that night. The next day, I don't show up for work because I was very serious. I was not coming back into the building. So when I didn't show up and teach my classes, I get a call from the associate dean saying, you didn't show up to teach your classes. And I was like, I told you yesterday. Like, and again, it was something that if a young lawyer came to me or a young assistant professor came to me and said the exact same thing, I would say, this is so ill-advised. You do not make demands, and you definitely don't make ultimatums, and you definitely don't walk off your job, right? So I did 3 things that you absolutely should not do, and I would advise a young lawyer, I'm telling you that right now, students, do not try this at home, okay? This is not something that you want to do. But the reaction was my pay was fixed within 1 day, right? Something that probably would have taken months. And the other thing is I could have kept quiet, right? Because it was humiliating, honestly. I could have kept quiet, but instead I started telling this story all over the law school and all over the university. And I started warning women. I was like, watch your paychecks, watch what the deans tell you, check the public databases and make sure that you are being paid equally or more than your male colleagues. Because again, there's nothing wrong with women being paid more. If they're more qualified, if they have more experience, et cetera, you can also advocate for being paid more. But in that moment, I made a decision that essentially what we've been told forever was Gloria Steinem's birthday 2 days ago, that, the personal is political. Right? And if you keep secrets about your own problems, about the things that you've experienced at work, about discrimination that you have personally experienced, other people will not learn the lesson of that discrimination. Sometimes we have to be willing to tell our stories in order to empower and help other women. So that's my first reflection. Second, I think we need to really think about structural barriers, right? So when we talk about racism, when we talk about sexism, so much of the time we want to talk about personal racism or personal sexism and pretend that misogyny, that racism, et cetera, is not systemic. And we have a lot of systemic misogyny, a lot of systemic patriarchy still inside of the legal profession. And so we need to pay close attention to things like family leave, parental leave, the ability to have flexible schedules, all the things that Connie has been doing at her law firm. Those are the kinds of things that, as all of the people in this profession, we need to pay close attention to what is systemic in our profession that is driving women out of the profession. And when we look at those law firm partner numbers, many law firm partners as women are leaving the profession after they become partners. Right? They may get all the way to partnership and then leave the profession after they're partners, a lot of it caused by pressure of childcare and pressure of taking care of elderly parents and other people in their lives. It becomes too much for them to do all of those things together. And we can change many of the systems that we have in the legal profession to better support caretakers, both men and women. And it's important for us to raise the systemic issues. And finally, and I think one of the joys that I've really experienced after being in the profession for almost 30 years is to realize the power of the Women's Network. And I said this to the students earlier. I realized pretty quickly, I went to practice law in Texas. I practiced at a firm that at the time was called Fulbright and Jaworski. It's now called Norton Rose Fulbright. And I realized when I got to my firm, there was a really strong good old boys network, right? Like the network that I'd go drink bourbon with the guys after work at the Four Seasons, they'd go play golf. I would play golf. I don't really play golf, but I would sit in the cart and I would drive. I would serve anything to be on those. And then pretty soon I realized, why am I playing golf and drinking bourbon when I could go to concerts and day spas with the other girls at the firm, right? So pretty soon I just started organizing alternative, what I like to call the good old girls network, which was essentially summer associates, and associates and partners of the firm. We would do things that we like to do. We went to concerts together. We would go get our nails done, all on the firm, because the men were going to play golf on the firm. All in from these were our networks of support. And then when I moved into the legal academy, the same thing. I came to South Carolina as the first Black woman ever on the tenure track there. But by the time I left, we were about 20 in number on the faculty, and we had 6 women of color on our faculty, right? The power of our networks together can make a difference. So I encourage you, as so many did tonight, to build where you are, wherever you are, whatever the circumstances are, where you are in your career. Build from there. If you're the only one, make sure you're not the only one when you leave. If there are 5 of you, make sure that there are 10 of you tomorrow. If there are 20, make sure that the next one is the managing partner. Once you're the managing partner, make sure that another woman can start her own firm if she wants. Every one of us, if we lift as we climb, will have the opportunity to see those efforts pay off. And so tonight, as we honor Kate Stoneman, I think we should all remember and think about her legacy, which is really the legacy of never taking no for an answer. When someone said that earlier tonight, I said, the power of never taking no for an answer. And when someone puts up a barrier, finding a way around, I think that is what Kate Stoneman would want us to continue to do. So congratulations to all of the honorees, and thank you so much for having me this evening.
Wow. Wow. That's all I have to say for a minute. I need a minute to just, let's do another round of applause for all 4 of our awardees. What an inspirational evening. Throughout tonight's remarks, we heard many references to trailblazers and pioneers and champions and firsts and role models. And I think my addition of female warriors in the war against inequality fits in there. Let's keep that up. Because while gender equality and racial equality are concepts that most people can agree upon theoretically, Kate Stoneman actually personified the concepts in reality. She has inspired countless law students, future lawyers, and more. She and her legacy remind all of us how much progress we have made in the area of equality in the law. Yet, of course, we are reminded daily, maybe these days it feels like hourly, how much more progress we still need to make in order to achieve true gender and racial equality under the law. So thank you for helping us get there one step at a time. To cap off this incredible night, we have an exciting raffle by the Women's Law Caucus, where there are fabulous baskets you can bid on as part of Gender in the Law Week. Check the baskets as you're leaving. I think we're going to bring them to the reception area. They're going to be in the reception area, and you can purchase raffle tickets. On behalf of Albany Law School, we thank you all so much for being here tonight. Please save the date of Wednesday, November 4th, 2026, where we will honor another amazing person for the Catherine D. Katz Lecture, Professor Dorothy Roberts. I know you're going to come back for that, right? And now join us for wonderful food and wine in the foyer, and thank you all for being here.